Stoicism is a philosophy or way of life that began in Athens, Greece, in 300 BC. The basic tenets of Stoicism revolve around the idea that you have the power to react to life or act on it. Stoics believe that by not reacting to events, you could become stronger in your character and avoid living a life out of your control. At the same time, the Stoics believe there are some things in life that you can control and some things you can't control. By knowing which are in your power, you stop wasting energy on things outside your control, reducing negativity and wasteful living. According to modern-day Stoics like Ryan Holiday, Stoicism is not a set of ethics or principles. It is a collection of spiritual exercises designed to help people through the difficulty of life by managing emotion, specifically, non-helpful emotion. While it's not a case of everything being moonshine and roses, you learn to accept tragedy as the flip side of the coin that happiness lives on. Being Stoic is about accepting you can't have one, for example, happiness without the other tragedy, but you can control how you react to the tragic and unhappy things in life. To live well, you must be good, righteous, and virtuous. This is what the Stoics aim to achieve by controlling themselves. Famous ancient Stoics include Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, and their teachings have influenced modern-day Stoics. Stoics structure their lives by living humble, being modest in their speech, and not giving into bragging and excesses. Now that we understand the overview of Stoicism, here are 9 ways for how to practice Stoicism in your life. 1. Can I control this? As Epictetus noted, man is disturbed not by things but by his views of them. Life is often a struggle to control what happens to us, but the reality is that we can't control most of life. This endless struggle leads to stress and negativity. The Stoics realized that they could live with clarity and a better sense of control by deciding what was in their power to control and what wasn't. Uncertainty is part of life, and Stoics embrace that uncertainty instead of fearing it. It doesn't mean that Stoics have a don't care attitude. Instead, Stoics accept what they can't control, face what they can control, and seek the wisdom to know which is which, just like the Serenity Prayer. Ultimately, you can only control yourself. Your thoughts, feelings, and actions are in your power to control. You can start implementing this step by listing things you can control daily. 2. Embrace disaster. The ancient Stoics would meditate on death, illness, and injury, seeing these in full detail until they were no longer afraid of them. This gave them a certain fearlessness in life. By not wasting energy, worrying, or becoming anxious about these things, the Stoics could avoid suffering before something bad even happened. Just think of how many times you lost sleep about a job interview, perhaps even causing it to go badly when it wasn't in your control. A Stoic avoids this wasteful stress by accepting that the worst could happen, and they know worrying about it won't stop it. The Stoics knew that being stressed, worried, and anxious could cause you to lose focus and act irrationally. You cause your suffering. Instead, focus on living in the right direction, and life will continue. Doing your best is always good enough, even if you fail. To start implementing this step, ask yourself what you fear. Think about it, accept it, and let it go. 3. Practice moderation. Wasting is not useful to the Stoic mindset. Living in moderation with no unnecessary excesses and vices is typical of Stoic virtue. Stoics don't believe in spending money to buy happiness. Instead, they believe that living moderately leads to deeper insight and spiritual development. Stoics, like Ryan Holiday, embrace frugal living and try to live closer to nature. Many choose vegetarianism and avoid alcohol because meat and alcohol can lead to excesses and tempt people to chase cravings. Stoics believe that practicing moderation leads to temperance. To practice implementing this step, include a frugal day weekly when you cut back on excesses. 4. Practice empathy. When you have empathy, you can see someone else's life from their perspective. Stoics realize that we don't always know why someone acts the way they do, and we jump to conclusions about their character based on their actions. Instead of just reading someone at face value, the Stoic believes in trying to walk a mile in the other person's shoes, see life from that person's perspective, and acknowledge their lived experiences. With this comes understanding and empathy. Instead of judging people, you judge their world, which informs their decisions. Stoics have greater emotional intelligence and are less judgmental because they practice empathy. With empathy, the Stoic can accept the other person's actions without feeling angry or offended or even agreeing or disagreeing with them. After all, we all walk through fire at times and make mistakes. To implement this step, remember when you feel negative about someone, mentally place yourself in their shoes and try to see life and their decisions from their perspective. Would you live differently if you were them? 5. Like yourself for yourself and be who you are. We have a primal need to be liked. This desire to be approved of causes us to act out of character, feel stressed, and lose our real happiness to try and gain validation from others. Other people don't make you happy. You make yourself happy. Knowing that you have nothing to prove to others, you only prove your efforts to yourself, and you can focus on living free of expectations, which makes Stoics truly liberated. So stop investing your time and energy in others to be popular and live according to your judgments. To implement this step, practice self-love, kindness, and compassion to like yourself for yourself. List your virtues and focus on your strengths. You are worthy. 6. Look at the bigger picture. Our narrow perspective often obscures our view of life and everything around us. We only see what's right here, losing sight of what is happening. The Stoics called it Plato's view, and they would try to see things from an external perspective. Like an out-of-body experience, the Stoic tries to see everything from a neutral viewpoint, thereby removing judgment and simply gathers information about events, people, situations, and more. When you see yourself as part of larger societies, countries, the world, and the solar system, you realize you are quite small and less than a grain of sand. Far from feeling insignificant, this helps Stoics to become grounded and rebalanced. While small, you matter, but no disaster, no matter how big, is as bad as you imagine. You only must do good, and problems will gain perspective. To implement this step, spend 3 minutes each day looking back on the day from an eagle's perspective. What changes when you float above everything that happened? 7. Look inward and become self-aware. We need to know ourselves because we can only control ourselves, so introspection and self-reflection are vital to the Stoic. Studying, writing, and reading widely contribute to a greater awareness and personal insight. We can see ourselves, know our inner workings, and identify our weaknesses by writing down our thoughts and feelings. Personal growth does not happen on its own, it takes dedication and training. Start writing today. You may be amazed at what really goes on in your mind. To start this step, start journaling. Use prompts and try free writing, empty your thoughts onto paper and learn who you are. 8. Practice amor fati and detachment. According to Epictetus, don't seek to have events happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do happen, and all will be well with you. Stop fighting fate. Since not everything is in our power to control, embracing that the good and the bad are two sides of the same coin lets us live with greater peace about the past and hope for the future. Amor fati, or love of fate, means you focus on your efforts, letting go of any expectation of the results. Whatever happens, happens. You live with gratitude and acceptance no matter the outcomes of your efforts. To practice this step, use your journal to write 5 things to be grateful for each day. Then, write 5 things that didn't go as planned. Could you change anything? This is fate, and you can embrace it. 9. Goodness as a virtue. Following a Stoic lifestyle means you try to live virtuously. Through living a just and kind life, you experience happiness as a reward. Try becoming more aware of how kindness impacts the world and your mind. Kind thoughts, acts of kindness, and self-kindness are all part of living a good life focused on leaving the world better than we found. To implement this step, make a kindness jar with kindness activities written on slips of paper. Remove a piece of paper each day and make that kindness act a reality. As we conclude, remember you can start practicing Stoicism, learning to identify what's in your control, what's in your partial control, and what's out of your control. This helps you better manage your emotions and lead a happier and more fulfilling life since you no longer waste time and energy on negativity and unnecessary reactions. To become a Stoic, learn to embrace disaster or the worst-case scenarios, practice moderation and empathy, and look inward to cultivate self-awareness. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment on your thoughts, and remember to like and subscribe.